Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Fareed Zarif. I'm the founder of Executive Life Diet. I'm also the founder of the Rhythm Diet. And you've probably heard of that if you've been following me for all of these years. Now what we've done is we've actually made the way that we eat even better. Now it's called rhythmic ingestion. Simply means to eat by a certain rhythm. And rhythmic ingestion is super important because we're talking about the foods that are actually complementive to the time of day. Now, the time of day can be in the morning or it can be in the evening, it can be whatever time. But we've been taught that everybody is pretty much on the same schedule. When we good and well know that we have some people that leave the house at 11 p.m. to start work. Other people may leave the house at 11 a.m., others at 4 a.m., others at 6 a.m., and so forth. It depends on what you're doing and what your livelihood is all about, right? So why is it that nobody has changed when we eat and what we eat? Well, pay attention because I'm going to give you some easy steps to follow rhythmic ingestion. When it comes to rhythmic ingestion, it's really very important that we have the knowledge of the food, meaning that we know what the food is going to do for us. For instance, in the morning, we eat a meal that's pretty small. All of the meals, think small when you think about eating because we certainly don't need a large amount of food if we're not using all of the energy that we're getting from that food. Basketball players, football players, and other athletes, they actually eat more because they burn more, they use more, they need more energy. Now, when those basketball and football players stop doing a certain thing, they're not as active as they were during their pro season while they were competing, what happens to most of those athletes? They actually gain weight, right? Not all, but most of them. They'll gain weight and it's like, wow, this is out of control. It's not because they just start eating more, it's because they are not balanced with what they're taking in. They're still eating the same amounts of food or more than they were when they were competing. So the rhythm or rhythmic ingestion is super important for you to understand that this standard American diet simply isn't the way to eat. It's not the safest, it's not the healthiest, and we could stop right in its tracks. All the disease, all the different ailments that we're having, all of the different complaints that we have can reduce at least by 50% if we were to eat according to our circadian rhythm. Why? Not only because it's in nature, but it is the natural way that your body wants to be fed. Your body wants to be maintained. Your body wants certain energy, you see? Because the food that we eat from nature is the same food that becomes the material that we are. So if you're wanting to be a big fellow, a beefcake, or a big person that is larger, guess what? You might say, no, just keep on pumping up big weights and you get the big muscles. Weights do play their part in helping to proliferate muscle tissue. But when it comes to size, it is super important that you eat more food. People that compete with their bodies and look great and work hard and have the discipline to do it, they can tell you some stories about how much food they eat during each 24-hour period. And believe me, that task alone is something to really give them accolades for. All of the eating that is required in order to maintain their bodies, like eating all day long. If you're just taking things like creatine or other protein powders and all that, what happens? You get big, bloated, and then you can't keep it up. It goes down, it goes down, it goes down, and then you want to overdo it with the protein. And what happens? You go to the doctor and say, hey, something's happening with my kidneys or my bladder, or I don't know what's going on. So you find out that your body is producing more ammonia because you are overdoing it with the protein. So there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to be experienced, but know that if you continue to eat the standard way of eating, then you will be doing more harm to yourself than help for yourself. Now let's get back to the eating or rhythmic ingestion. It's very important to know the hours. We have the first hour, and the first hour is just like breakfast. It's the time that you eat when you awaken, but you eat it within the first hour. Then you have the third hour. That's a snack. And the fifth hour, that's another snack. And here comes the seventh hour. This is the time that you eat the largest meal. And it's a combination of those things that we call carbohydrates and the protein dominant foods. We'll talk about that later. We wait 3 hours after we finish the largest meal at the 7th hour, and we eat, the next time we eat will be at the 10th hour. The 10th hour is now another snack, but it's the 7th hour is the mark of the middle of each day or 24-hour cycle. So when you eat during the 7th hour, before that you've eaten all the protein and fruit. After that you eat carbohydrates and grains. So like grains and other carbohydrates such as vegetables, this is what you eat because they're calmatives. They help the body to relax, you see? When you're eating protein dominant foods and it's getting close to bedtime, it's very easy to overdo it. And you end up with parasomnia or insomnia. Those of you know that you can't sleep at night and you have insomnia, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You shouldn't be eating that late. Allow 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed after you eat your last meal. Now when it comes to the 12th hour meal, it should be the smallest meal. Never ever ever eat the largest meal before you go to bed. Now you might be able to sleep through because you're used to doing that, but those people that need to get up in the morning, you have these long days, you put an extra strain on your heart. That's why we continue to lead in heart disease, because we're doing the same things that cause us to be very ill and overdoing our cardiovascular system that should be resting at that time instead of working like we're out jogging or swimming or biking. Systemically, when we speak about the harmonization of foods that we eat, we should also choose the foods that are proper for these certain times. You can find out more information on executivelifediet.com. But for now, know that when you choose your food, they should complement what you are doing, not only in your daily exercises or your daily regimen, your daily activity, but they should also complement what is happening with your brain and heart, your circulatory system, your endocrine system, your lymphatic system, and so forth. I'm Dr. Fareed Zarif, and this has been a good talk with Executive Life Diet.